what's given the health, the worldwide COVID-19, so the health situation is a global one. And then when you look at the situation, well, it's always been known that health is poorly funded in Nigeria. In fact, that's what gave rise to the National Insurance Health Insurance Scheme. And today, we're delighted to be having with us the Secretary and Chief Executive Officer, National Health Insurance Scheme, Professor Mohammed Nasir Sambo. He's the Executive Secretary. As I was saying, it's because health care is poorly funded to the extent that at least it's nowhere near where we thought it should be. In fact, the National Health Insurance Scheme, and these are some of the things we'll be talking with the professor about, caters for federal government workers.
Yeah, and that is where Nasir is, from what I heard in the last one year, he has seen how he can, incorporate even the private sector and try to talk to even the HMOs, and as well as the providers to see how the insurance scheme can cover everybody in Nigeria. But we know it will be very difficult to cover everybody, but at least a substantial amount of people, Nigerians, if they will be able to pay a certain amount of money or get private individuals, wealthy Nigerians, to key into his own ideas, on how everybody or most Nigerians, especially the poor, will get the health insurance scheme in their bags. But as it stands today, it's just for the federal workers.
Exactly.
And as time goes on.
And when you look at it, in terms of the whole society, the whole population, it's a negligible percentage federal government staff, federal government employees.
Exactly.
So really, it almost doesn't affect anything in a meaningful way. I mean, nobody is to poo-poo it away and say that nothing has been done. But in terms of what is the impact on Nigerians, if you're not lucky enough to be in federal government employment somewhere, you simply can't key into the scheme.
And that is it. So that is why he is also...
So you are not insured. The Nigerian is not insured, unfortunately, simply because he's not a federal government staff, federal government worker somewhere. Now, I know it sounds one kind when you put it in that way, but this is the effect of it.
Yeah, but I know outside, where once you're a citizen, at least you should have, insurance cover for your health, and that comes with so many people putting their hands together and saying, well, once you pay tax, at least you should be able to have, this insurance, health insurance. And once you are sick, you can easily go to any primary healthcare center around you, to get, treated and things like that.
That's not the case.
It's different here in Nigeria.
Let's see if we can, let's try Professor Mohammed again. Professor Mohammed Nasir Sambo, Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Scheme in our Abuja studio. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Yori Folari. I'm alongside my colleague here, Asukwo James, in studio. Thank you for making time for us, Prof. Now, looking at the health insurance scheme, that it is called the National Health Insurance Scheme, of course, as is not news, it really caters to federal government workers. I have the notion that you've spent some of your time, maybe a greater proportion of it, widening the base of this, if at all possible, to include Nigerians in the national part of the health insurance scheme. Could you tell us about those moves, please, if at all they are in existence?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, listeners. The issue of expansion of the National Health Insurance Scheme is one of the key activity in the agenda of the National Health Insurance Scheme under this dispensation. One of the key activity we are doing is to ensure that the law establishing the National Health Insurance Scheme which was hitherto restrictive in terms of the focus, is now being broadened by making it mandatory. So when we have a mandatory law for the National Health Insurance Scheme, now begin to focus for the entire population. Furthermore, you alluded to the fact that it was a National Health Insurance Scheme. Yes, it was a National Health Insurance Scheme when the initial act came out. And the act envisaged that every state government and local government will join the National Health Insurance Scheme. But somehow the states backslided and did not join. And over time, effort has been made to ensure that those states join the National Health Insurance Scheme as formal sector, but they could not. At one point, a decision has to be taken to decentralize the health insurance system so that states can have their own state health insurance, and while the federal government health insurance is also going on concurrently. The organized private sector currently are joining the insurance scheme because the law, even though restrictive, it has allowed for the involvement of the private sector. So if you look at the sum total of the effort, you have the National Health Insurance Scheme being covering the federal employees. You have organized private sectors that are bigger joining the National Health Insurance Scheme, and you have state health insurance agencies enrolling the state and local government employees, as well as the provision of the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund, which is an initiative of the federal government under the National Health Act. Under the Act, it was clearly specified that 1% of the total budget of consolidated revenue will go to the health sector, out of which 5% will go to the National Health Insurance Scheme, and that 5% will be remitted to the state social health insurance for the purpose of the coverage of the vulnerable segment of the population. So if you look at all this and the current effort that National Health Insurance is undertaking in developing what is called GIFSHIP, Group Individual Family Social Health Insurance Program, it has been fully articulated, and we are just awaiting for the launching of this program by the Honorable Minister. So by the time we have this GIFSHIP, it will broaden the space to allow individual to come in, to allow family to come into the National Health Insurance, and to also allow groups to come into the ecosystem. And with this arrangement, now the path is very clear for the attainment of universal health coverage.
Okay. So, Prof, you said something about GIFSHIP. Tell us a little bit more about it, because we know that you are saying something about families being involved in it. So how are families going to be really involved in it? Are they going to be paying a certain amount of money for it, or how?
Absolutely. Health insurance anywhere in the world is not free. It has to be paid for. So the individuals, we used to have a program under the National Health Insurance Scheme that is called Voluntary Social Health Insurance. That program was bedeviled by a lot of abuses. So when I came and I received a lot of complaints about the program, I set up a committee to look at, to evaluate the program and bring out all the problems bedeviling it. It is based on the report, we developed this GIFSHIP. Under this GIFSHIP, it is a modify and enhance the VSHIP program, which is Voluntary Social Health Insurance program that is substantially abused. Under this program, an individual can pay a premium to join the National Health Insurance Scheme, and an individual with two dependents, that is 3 of them, can come and pay 45,000 naira for their entire coverage for 1 year. And if you are coming as an individual, you have to pay 45,000. If you are coming in a group of 3, you pay 45,000. The reason why we employ these tactics, health insurance anywhere in the world on cross-subsidization. And if you miss that cardinal issue on cross-subsidization, you will have a serious problem of viability of the social insurance system. So the hitherto voluntary social health insurance program was abused because people that are terribly sick are the people that are joining. You come, a woman who is pregnant, and she knows that that pregnancy, she has been told that is going to be a cesarean section. She will come and pay 15,000 naira and join. After 2 weeks or 3 weeks, she will have cesarean section and she will disappear. That is what we call moral hazard in the social health insurance, or adverse selection. Wherever you allow adverse selection to ensue in the health insurance system, it will not survive. So the new modified B-SHIP take into of that attempt to abuse the system, so that an individual can, if he is coming alone, he should pay equivalent to if he is coming with 2 members of his family. So that if he is the one that is sick, and if he is the one that is vulnerable or a high risk, and the other members of the group that he is bringing with as a family, they will not likely have that adverse selection effect. So the coming together by the 3 people, there will be a kind of cross-subsidization. So an individual can join and pay the same rate with the 2 people that he can come with. Then you have what we call a group family social health insurance. That group, the G aspect of the G-SHIP, is when you have a group of people up to 10 under your care. You now come and you register with them. And the moment you increase the number, you begin to increase the premium that you are paying. So it is a kind of sliding arrangement that will allow that will block any possibility of adverse selection. You now come and you have the services. This is a very, very innovative program that will allow many people to join the National Health Insurance Scheme in no too distant future. And I'm telling you that many people are calling us to find out what is happening.
Okay, Prof. I
find out what is happening so that they can join. We have.
Because I also wanted to ask something about the HMOs and the providers. You know, there's been this acrimony between the HMOs and the providers, and sometimes the enrollees, they are always the ones, they say when 2 elephants they fight, it is the grass that suffers. So what are you doing to address this particular issue? Because now you have a lofty idea with this gift shift, but the HMOs, the providers, are also another a stakeholder in this health insurance or in the scheme.
Thank you very much. This is a very contentious issue, the relationship between the national health, the relationship between the HMO and providers. But I'm telling you that we have gone very, very far in resolving this program. We don't make noise, but we are working. What has been happening in the last 2 months is unprecedented in the annal of the operations of the National Health Insurance Scheme. What we have done, we organize what we call reconciliation, because the major between the HMOs and providers are issues that has to do with payment. There is a lot of claims by the healthcare providers that health maintenance organizations are owing them large chunk of money. So what we did was to we advertised in dailies that any health provider that is being owed by HMO should furnish the National Health Insurance Scheme with the information. Many of them have done across the country. So when we collected all the information and analyzed, we now set up a reconciliatory mechanism at state levels. So in the last 8 weeks, we started the process of reconciliation. In fact, so far, we have been able to reconcile the figure of about 2.2 billion naira between the healthcare providers and the health organization. And out of this 2.2 billion naira, already over 1.9 billion naira has been paid to the healthcare providers. And if you go to interview any healthcare provider in Nigeria who is being owed by health maintenance organization, in the last 2 weeks they have been celebrating because we have been able to make this huge recovery, which has been spanning for so many years. I think we have taken the year 2014 to 2020, and this is the kind of recovery we have done. And there are some contentious figures which we are unable to reconcile. This is as a result of a failure by the healthcare providers to supply information about this indebtedness. So now the relationship between the HMO and providers are very calm. We are very happy with this exercise because the healthcare providers are happy, and we told them, don't start celebrating yet, because we know a lot of providers are also complaining about your services, and now that HMOs have been able to defray all the indebtedness that is hanging around their neck, you also have to rise up to the expectation to ensure that you provide the needed quality services by our enrollees, so that we could have a very good ecosystem. That's how far we can go with the relationship.
Okay, Prof, briefly, I know you just marked 1 year recently, and you promised when you came that you are going to turn around the NHIS excuse me, into, let it be technologically driven. I don't know how far you've gone, and so far that you have come, what has been the experience, so far? And so can I just sit down in my house and say, okay, I need any information online or anything online? Can I do that in the comfort of my house or on my phone if I need any information on NHIS?
Yeah. What we are doing is not a miracle work. We are embarking on a strategic, purposeful, and gradual process. When we came last year, we undertook a comprehensive analysis of the situation with respect to ICT, and we discovered that it has been bedeviled by so many problems, and we set up a mechanism to ensure the resolution of that problem. One of the things we did, we had a private sector in our data for the past for more than a decade. And over this period, they have not been able to add any value into the system. When the system is yearning for total automation, so when I came, I had to ensure that inefficient private sector that is handling the ICT system of the National Health Insurance Scheme is removed, and we are able to walk through what is called G2G, government-to-government enterprise relationship, which is in line with the Executive Order 003-005 of the federal government. And we have been able to engage the NICOMSAT, and Galaxy Backbone is now currently hosting our data. And the NICOMSAT has been able to provide a very overarching business process automation of the system. And we have been able to save a lot of cost based on the previous bill that was approved. The document, which constitutes of about 19 modules, has been presented to the Bureau for Public Procurement for consideration. And the moment that approval is granted, we are going to, the Honorable Minister will take it to the Federal Executive Council for approval. Once we have that approval, we will now deploy a very overarching ICT solution which will allow exactly what you are talking. An individual can stay in the comfort of his room and be able to select the provider he wants and be able to select his SMO.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Health insurance ecosystem.
Professor, thank
And
you.
all other
Thank you very much, Professor. We really appreciate your making the time and indeed for bringing us up to speed in something of a sort of a situation report. Once more, we thank you, Professor Mohammed Nasir Sambo, Executive Secretary and CEO of the National Health Insurance Scheme, for making the time for us this morning. Okay, then. Thank you very much.
It's quite interesting.
Indeed, and it looks like bright days ahead.
Yes,
all
exactly.
other things being equal. Okay, let's switch on. We'll switch on to something else. The announcement has been made that we'll be opening up the skies, so to speak, opening up our airports and consequently the skies very, very shortly, the 5th of September?
Yes, 5th of September, the international flight.
For international flights. So now when we begin to hear that anything to do with aviation, there's some activity. We're talking about the aviation workers staging what has been described as a peaceful protest, and this is against what they see as the planned, not so much what they see, the planned concession of airports. So aviation workers stage a peaceful protest. Let's lead that conversation, and we're to be joined by the General Secretary of NUATE, Comrade Ochema Abba, but let's lead that conversation with a report.
Few months after the federal government received the outlined business case certificate of compliance for concession of 4 major airports, the workers in the sector are kicking. While government believes its efforts will develop the airports and their surrounding communities, create more jobs and make them self-sustaining through a public-private partnership arrangement, the workers in the sector think otherwise. This is why they have chosen the first working day of the week to stage this peaceful protest. The placard bearing workers insist concession will not do the nation any good in view of the experiences of the past. They are also not in agreement with alleged forceful migration to PENCOM. From the ground aviation terminal through the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport terminals, the workers walk through the airports.
There's going to be a massive job loss, national insecurity, amongst others, as I said, if government go ahead to construct the airport. And the other 17 or 18 airports will suffer, because the major airports now that takes care of these other airports.
We must resist this. Yes. You women, you know that when this thing goes down, you will suffer more. Yes. Even women of this men standing here, they will suffer more.
We've been battling this for years. They came before, they couldn't succeed, and now they are here again. I want to tell you that we say no to concession. No.
The workers have the backing of the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress to ensure the planned concessioning does not take place.
The Constitution is very explicit that you cannot put our wealth in the hands of few. This is our commonwealth. The airport is our commonwealth. If private investors want to come and invest, let them come and build the airports.
The 4 affected airports are the Mohammed Murtala International Airport in Lagos, Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja, Aminu Kano International Airport in Kano, and the Port Harcourt International Airport Omagua in Rivers State.
The protesting workers say this is a warning strike and that their next line of action will be determined by what step the government takes over their grievances in a matter of weeks. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
Our thanks to Joke Adisa for that report. It went out earlier, of course. Comrade Ochema Abba will be joining us. He might already have done so. In fact, I hear that we have him. Good morning, comrade. If you can hear me, comrade, Yori Folarin here with Asukwa James in studio. Good morning, comrade Ochema. Okay, so the issue, as soon as we sort that out as well, once we got them, we need to then tweak some things. Now, those workers there, part of the, what I referred to as NUATE, I didn't explain it at the time, but National Union of Air Transport Employees, They are protesting against the proposed concessions of airports. So what exactly is a concession of an airport, and how strange is it? Because I wonder if there's any, I don't know, maybe I should be careful how I speak here. You know the whole karma thing, that's a totally different thing. There is karma, whatever it is called, in other jurisdictions, but in Nigeria here, it has become a talking point. There is concessioning, airport concessioning in other places. It has become an issue here. So we'll probably be finding out from the General Secretary why it is an issue and whether, for how long can we stay, as it were, out of the loop of maybe, dare I call it, international best practices? Maybe that's one of the areas we could find out.
Well, we can call it international best practices, you know, and because I know most of the airports, you know, are being run by either a consortium, you know, or a private company, whichever way you want to see it, you know, for there to be efficiency. And for this, I think the union is, what they are saying is that there's no sincerity by the government in trying to concession this airport. And it's not all the airports. We have 22 airports. So they are just saying we are taking only 4. And the 4 happens to be maybe the international airports.
Maybe the most
Port
profitable.
Harcourt, Abuja, Lagos, and Kano.
So like cherry picking.
Yes, you know. And so they had to cherry pick those for them to concession and give it. So they are saying that not that they don't want the concession. I'm very sure. I think he is going to give us, Comrade Abba will have to explain that. If they are against the concessioning or they are against the process of concessioning or they don't really, they've not been carried along in the concessioning. Because I know when there's concessioning like this, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is that so many people will lose their jobs, you know, that so many people will lose their jobs. And I think that is the fear. But I know that even when NEPA was changed to PACN and they started selling left, right, and center, there were some people who were in NEPA that those private companies, that is the Ikeja District, Eco Electric, and so, still kept some of them, you know. So it means that even the workers themselves, they also have to up their game to make sure that even if it's going to happen at all, then you will have a job. Because as it stands now, most of them are saying that they will lose their job. And I can hear what one of the comrades was saying there. He's saying that most of them might not even have a job in this concession. So, comrade, I hope we can get him. Because so that we explain better. Because are they really, really against the concessioning of the airports? Or they are just what the real issues are?
Because arguably it could bring about an increased efficiency at those airports, at least just looking at it intellectually. But there still is that human factor, because this concessioning thing be handed over to a commercial or private, you know, organization that would then, you know, just bring in all the technical skill and all the manpower. And here, sometimes...
It's even technical skills, because the manpower can still be some of them that are even protesting.
Yes, some of them. And their worry might be that it's not going to be all of us, because, yes, they will need to lean on the technical skill, which with the power generation, the electricity example that you made, know that they still had to take some of them as a sort of a nucleus of knowledge base and technical depository of technical skill. But there is that whole worry that those that are not so technically relevant, so to speak, might lose their jobs, and that's what they're probably up on again. But enough of our speculating, because we have the General Secretary now, Comrade Ocheme Abba. Good morning, Comrade.
Good morning to you.
Thank you very much. I'm in studio here with Asukwa James. Thank you for making some of your time available to us this morning. We wanted you to put the protest, peaceful protest, in context for us. What exactly is the nature of the protest? Is it no to concessioning of airports, or is it the methodology – that is being objected to?
Yeah, okay. Primarily at this point in time, the major issue is the methodology that is being applied to the process of concessioning of the airports. You will recall that the idea is to concession 4 international airports. These 4 international airports are the life wire of all the airports. The remaining 22, 18, 19 airports are supported directly by these 4 international airports. So if these 4 international airports are concessioned, that automatically means the death of the remaining 18, 19 airports. And
really, I mean, how would that be? How is this worry justified? That if you were to, just for the sake of argument, as we are discussing it now, how would those 4, even if they were cherry-picked, sound the death knell for the 18 others?
Yeah, juicy airports.
Yeah, the reason is simple. The other 18 airports are not viable airports. They do not generate reasonable amount of revenue to sustain even themselves.
Okay.
And so they are being supported currently by these 4 airports that are the only viable airports. And beyond the issue of the support, there are questions that have remained unanswered. For example, there is these 4 airports also have terminals being built through the Chinese loans by Chinese firms. And these terminals are also being built on the basis of concession. That is, the revenue from these airports will be directly channeled towards repaying the loans. So if these airports already have airport terminals that are concession, and the recent clarification by the minister that it's only terminals that are being concessioned. So who is going to concession a concessioned terminal? So these are questions that are all, they remain within conjectures. And it looks like we are just running around in circles or fooling ourselves, as it were. If you also have a situation where you have taken a decision that all the workers in these airports will be transferred to the concessionaire, and the concessionaire will run for 2 years with them. And after 2 years, he will then decide whether he would like to continue with them or not. And at his discretion, he can then return the workers back to farm. Then which farm will these workers return to? Which farm? The farm that has been rendered non-existent by the concessionaire of the 4 airports. And what will happen to the service records of these workers? And at the moment, there is a pension liability on these workers of over 105 billion naira. Who will settle it?
I see. Those are the issues. So really, essentially, it looks like the union is calling for some sort of engagement, as you put it, a lack of consultation, so that these issues that you have brought up, these questions, they stick out a mile. They would be addressed if they can be, and if they can't be, then perhaps the whole thing needs to be rethought.
And if I should add, the process of concessioning, the entire process as prescribed by the ICRC, have due processes set out. None of these due processes have been engaged. And as we speak, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, which is empowered by law to determine the concessioning process, has not made a single statement or request to the ICRC asking for concession. The only request that have gone and have been going through processes is the one put by the minister, who is not empowered by law to run the airports. So there are many questions. And as we speak, several aspects of these terminals are already running on concession, including revenue collection.
One moment, please, comrade. Mr. Joshua, a viewer, has joined us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to your colleague there.
Yeah, good morning.
The first one on insurance, Uncle Yori, I think we should have a national program. We should have a national program. What's the percentage of people who are working for the federal
Mr. Joshua, whereas I
Yes.
understand it, but you know, we've moved from there, and we actually have a guest on this particular subject matter.
I know the airport. I'll move to that. I just want to leave that word.
Okay.
We should have a national program.
Okay.
For the airport, he has already said what happened. We've always said the government has no business in business. Government has no business in business. He has said it that if you remove these 4 airports, every other ones are not viable. So this idea of government running what ought to be a private sector-driven business has never worked. So, I mean, if they are talking about engagement, fine, let them get into that engagement, because at the end of the day, if the concessioning doesn't go through, this whole thing, even the 4 viable ones, are going to fail too.
Yeah.
Government has never done well running businesses. Let them come to terms with that and make it like, okay, can we partner with the private sector, or can the private sector run it and then we follow through? That will work well for them so that nobody loses out at the end of the day.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joshua, for calling in. You know, this reminds me, we had Captain John Ojukutu retired, you know, of the Aviation Roundtable. And, you know, one of the comments that he had made is that the problem here is that we do not have really the capacity for the kind of things we claim to be pulling off. And I wonder if this doesn't fit nicely into that particular category. There you have 4 airports that are viable, and then 18 others, and it is from these 4 that you are managing to give the appearance, semblance of...
and so many governors are still planning to even build...
Oh, yes, you know. Good morning, Mr. George in Lagos. Comrade, please stay with us. Mr. George in Lagos joins and with a view or maybe a question. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Yeah.
Uncle Yori, unfortunately, you are not allowing us to comment on the first topic. That's the one I really would have loved to talk about.
Okay.
Be that as it may, the issue on ground appears to be the government trying to place mount on the workers. I'm not going to support the government on this one at all. If you want to concession the airports, it should be a wholesale thing. Why are you picking the only viable ones and the concession is being done in piecemeal? What is worth doing at all should be done well.
Okay.
If you truly want to concession, call the workers, lay it on the table, let there be an agreement, and it shouldn't be aimed at sending people out of their jobs in these times that we stand. So the workers have the case, and the government should listen to them.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. George, and also for understanding about the subject in the past might, you know, just clog up the whole thing for our present guest. Comrade Abba, you said so far you haven't had a response from FAN or from anybody at all after you sort of, I imagine you have given proper notice. It's not just that they saw it in the newspapers.
Yes, just before then, sir, we heard a statement about the fact that the government has no business in business. Is it a universal statement? Is it something that is proven by science? The airports that are being constructed, those terminals are being constructed by businesses owned by government, the government of China. So, and if you say government has no business in business, the business of gas and oil, which is run by the NNPC, is it a private firm? So it is not a universal statement that government has no business in business. There is nothing to substantiate that that cannot happen. Now, if it has not happened well, there are reasons why it has not happened well. Shouldn't we apply ourselves to the reasons why it has not happened well? If we say we should put everything that has not happened well in government to private hands, then including the leadership of the country may have to be privatized. Including the National Assembly will have to be privatized. So we cannot continue to be running away from our problems and pretend that we are solving them. So there are also viable alternatives that we have profiled. This particular form of concession is designed as a PPP to bring in private hands. That is not the only way to bring private funds into a business run by government. There are other more viable options which can take care of all the interests of everybody, including workers' interests, which we have profiled, which is called corporatization. You will be able to bring in more private funds, both foreign and local, if we go through a process where the national interest, where you are talking about how are you going to handle the 4 major most entries into Nigeria, hand them over to private firms, most likely foreign firms. And we are talking about security. How are you going to manage national security in such circumstances? And
one moment, comrade. One moment, comrade. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
The Nigerian situation and sell it.
Comrade, I got to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
It has not worked in the past.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you, comrade, but Mazi Okoroafo has called in from Arochukwu. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. Mr. Yori, see, I let this issue of concession of airport, this one, it sounds funny. Reason, Nigerian government went and did NEPA concession and did NITE. What happened to NEPA and NITE? Today, what is happening? You see how people are suffering in terms of estimated bill. You see how people are suffering in terms of, they will say they will give you meter and you will not see any meter. The government should, if you want to do concession, let it be total all the airports in this country which we have. Now, you ask yourself, come to Akwa Ibom. They have the best airport down east. Now, even the one they are building now in, what do they call it, Ebonyi State. Now, you go to Delta State, they have a good, even the one at Bayelsa and left. What is happening from the government not to upgrade that one? The issue is this. We should not be taking this China. Even China, when they go, what are they do? They go and bring their people, some of these companies in their place and push down. What happens to our Jakarta industry? They employed over 500 and something China people inside there. What happens to Nigeria? Now, what is happening with the Jakarta? It's all viable up to today. Nigerian government, please, wherever you are, if you want to do concession, it should be all the airport. So you ask yourself, those people that they retire since when Nigeria Airways were going, what happened? What happened to our own veteran airline? They said they want to start. Since last year, like this Saraki or Saru said that they'll give us a new airline. Where is it now? It is not healthy. We don't want China. Everything about China is China. We don't want it. Nigeria should manage their resources, not to question about bringing China. No to concession. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okoroafo. Comrade Abba, it's a peaceful protest at the moment to bring to the attention of the authorities that you have thoughts on this matter and that so far it hasn't been handled satisfactorily as far as the union, your union is concerned, the National Association of Air Transport Employees. Any reaction so far? Any move? Because you said earlier that you hadn't heard a word yet from FAN. Any reaction from the authorities, one way or the other?
Yes, the chairman of the House Committee on Aviation, Honorable Naji, has intervened. He has requested that we share our thoughts, and that the 2 committees of the National Assembly, the Senate and the House on Aviation, will convene a meeting or a hearing, I don't know, I can't remember the word he used, where parties will be able to ventilate their views and that they will take a compassionate and a free-minded position on the matter, and expecting that the government will listen to the conclusions or outcomes of such meeting.
Okay, one moment, please. So I think we've got Maruf in Ajah.
Positive intervention that has happened.
Good morning in Ajah. Maureen in Ajah. Can Maureen hear me? I hope you're not.
Hello, good morning.
Okay. Is that you?
Maureen or Morris?
Yes.
Is it Maureen or Morris?
Morris from Ajah. That's me. That's me.
I was worried. Go ahead, Morris. Good morning, Morris.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, it's only in Nigeria that when people want to find solution, the workers said, no, the solution should not be so that the rot will continue. The backlash of why pensions are not paid is because the place is not run well. And somebody said, please, let's run it well so that your work can continue. You said, no, I don't want the work to continue well. You have to continue with that, with the old order. And at the end of the day, if the whole thing collapses, the whole workers will still go. Why can't we find solution without thinking about putting our interest more than the interest of the entire country?
Okay.
I don't know why workers always say we don't want the things to work. We want it to be in the old order. And then so many people will continue in that old order where they can't even get their salary, they can't even get everything, they continue the old order, counting months of pension that are not paid, months of salary. And yet things are not working. Their productivity is not even there. They just want to be workers by being workers alone.
Okay.
It's only in Nigeria that can happen.
I hear you. Thank you very much, Maurice. Well, what he was saying is that, sorry, you can't make an omelette without breaking eggs.
Yes.
And if we say what we want is an omelette, not the raw eggs, I'm afraid you can't have complete eggshells.
Exactly.
So this is part of the problem. But you see, the others, well, I'm not sure that that Comrade Abba is going to entirely buy into that, because unions generally watch out for the interests of their members, and the whole matter of the integrity of their employment status is important in all of this. But address that question, if you will, Comrade Abba.
They don't want to change at all.
Is it that the way the status quo should not be touched at all?
That is a very wrong conception. It is not true at all that the workers are averse to change. What is needed is a viable airport. All of us are agreed to that.
Okay, so let me ask, what do you consider? Sorry, comrade. Sorry, comrade.
It is also a given that private funding will be very helpful in developing the airports. The question is, how do we do it? The options that we have given are not connected with status quo. Nobody is insisting that status quo be maintained. And mind you, this is not just about the workers of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria. No, it is about Nigeria. We are saying that we have gone through cycles of where people identify viable government assets and then use phony processes and corner these things between themselves and their friends. That has been the cycle that has been going on. And it has not benefited Nigeria. So shouldn't we break that cycle of sharing of our common patrimony and our common heritage? If our founding fathers had behaved in this way, we wouldn't find anything here to share or to loot. We should try to develop them through processes that are transparent, that have national interest in mind, not contrived processes where only a few will benefit. The president of Nigerian Labour Congress is against the Constitution of Nigeria to concentrate wealth in a few hands. Our Constitution has said that should not be allowed. Our resources should be managed in such a way that wealth is not concentrated in a few hands. This process, these forms of concessioning and privatization over the years have only concentrated this wealth in a few hands, contrary to the dictates of our Constitution. So,
okay, as we continue this conversation, comrade, sorry, comrade, I just wanted to point out that right now, I think going on live, even though it is virtual, is the swearing in of the newly elected president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, I believe. So that's going on. I just wanted to bring, it's going on live and you'll be hearing about it. But
on the 12th of June, 2019, the timetable and procedure for the election of the president of the bank, and 2, Resolution B/BG/2020/extra01, adopted by this board at the 6th extraordinary meeting of the Board of Governors of this bank on the 27th of July, 2020, concerning the adoption of the report of the Steering Committee of the Board of Governors on the election of the President, recommending the virtual election of the President of the African Development Bank due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Having considered 1, the report of the meeting of the Steering Committee of the Board of Governors for the election of the President of the Bank, on the 12th February 2020, on the 12th.
Okay, just, we'll, of course, TVC News will be all over it, but that's the leading up to, as I said, the virtual swearing in of
Akinwumi,
Nigeria's Akinwumi Adesina as the president for another term. So, sorry about that, comrade. You were explaining that it's. Do we have comrade? You still there? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, again, the comrade was saying there that maybe they're not being given a fair shake when people say that they don't want anything to change. That it's not all about that. And so what then is left, because we've got to stay within the ambits of what the comrade himself said, is that we're not being carried along.
Yes. Then he said, he also mentioned something about national interests, whereby our national assets are being shared by a selected few. And I think that is one of the major reasons that they are, against this so-called concessioning or the plans to concession the airport. That, okay, fine, why are you cherry-picking the juicy airports for you to say you want to concession? And who are you concessioning the airports to? If at all you want to even do it, there's already one on the ground. So are you going to concession on a concession?
Yeah, it's an important point. And also the fact that the 18 other airports, they're not viable.
But you see, it beats everybody's imagination that we just have airports there and they are not viable.
Because they're political institutions, really. They were put in there for politics. People didn't really, I don't know if it's that they didn't think them through or that they knew that, don't worry, we will manage somehow. Now, we can't go about this somehow thing. So, as has been explained to us, the four airports being concessioned now are what is the lifeblood of those other ones.
So it means if a governor comes and says he's building an airport for like 60-something billion, 100 billion, then maybe he gets loan for it. So how much is the governor or that state going to make from it? Because if at the end of the day, they don't even recoup what they use in building the airport, so what is the essence?
Okay, let's take Maduka, who's called in from the UK. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling. Indeed, quite a while. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, I was just listening to what the topic of today. Again, it's happening again in Nigeria. I go history. Nigerian government and the governance are experts in breaking down Nigerian assets, the only viable ones, and share among themselves, like the comrade was saying. I refer you to NITEL. The time NITEL was sunk down, NITEL was not receiving a dime from government as subvention. Rather, NITEL was paying into government costs. I refer you to National Shipping Line. They balkanized it not because it was failing. It was competing very actively with similar institutions all over the world. They balkanized, they shared the ships among themselves to set up their individual private ships. Shipping companies. I refer you to, we'll keep on counting. It has always been like that. The question is, if you are saying that you are afraid that some of these institutions are not producing, could it not have made more sense if you put those unviable entities into the hands of those so-called experts of private medicine? I sometimes shrink when I hear people say that government has no business in business. In that case, British telecommunications would have been completely private. But a lot of people don't know that that institution is still owned by government, almost 100%. But it's competing. I think the problem we have is ourselves. These leaders deliberately try to strangle these institutions so that they can be shared among themselves. That has been the strategy. This is exactly what they are trying to do again with our airport. The next thing you hear is the airports are for sale. Take it from me. I'm so sad that this is happening. British government still have a hand in their international airports, whether we like it or not. So managed by private organizations, yes, that is true. But they still have a hand. Because this is national security we are talking about. Your point of entry. Anyway, I wish them well. Thank you very much, Yori.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maduka. Really appreciate your calling in. Actually, if we still have Comrade Abba with us, I've just been told that Comrade Ocheme Abba, National
General Secretary,
the General Secretary of the National Association of
Air Transport
Workers. I want to thank you very much, Comrade, for making time to be with us and air this particular issue. And also to thank all our guests. The time has come to thank all our guests, because that's what we think of you as, you guys that phoned in locally and from abroad. Thank you very much for calling in and making the program what it is. So that brings us to the end of the program, actually. And then I'm sure TVC News will stay on the swearing in that's ongoing right now of the president, newly elected president.
Yes, of African Development.
Of the African Development, Nigeria's own Akinwumi. Additional. Okay, that's our program. Asukwo and I, as always, we say, do your best to stay safe. COVID-19 has not gone. So please keep on keeping on being safe. See you tomorrow by the grace of God. Bye-bye for now.